Hello, everyone. I'm Bonnie Low-Kramen, and welcome to Heads Together. I welcome our viewers from all over the world who come into this show each Wednesday at 3 o'clock. And I am here with my assistant, Jennifer Wilner. Hello, Jen.
Hi, Bonnie. So nice to be here today.
Oh, and you are freezing your butt off, right?
Okay.
Up in New Jersey, the Northeast has gotten so slammed. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm happy you're here with me today. We have a very special show, and I want to get right to it. We are having this series for Black History Month, and I was inspired to write an article called Shining a Light on Black Assistants, where I co-wrote the article with several Black assistants. And I felt like I wanted to invite an amazing assistant each week here during Black History Month. And so last week you met Spencer Cassius, and this week you're going to meet Sonya Ponds. Sonya Ponds and I have known each other since 2018. She's going to be coming to us today from Washington, D.C., where she has, for the last 13 years, she's been working at the U.S. Agency for Global Media. She's been spending most of her time with the international broadcaster called Voice of America. You've probably heard of Voice of America. And she writes that as a federal employee and forever learner, Sonya is crafting her career and personal imprint as a quote unquote catalyst for empowerment. She believes every day can be a career enhancing, social uplifting experience if anyone is willing to accept the challenge. And that is so Sonya. Sonya holds a master's degree in counseling psychology, and you're going to experience the results of that in a few minutes. And she holds many certifications. If you check her out on LinkedIn, Jen is going to put her profile in the chat so that, because Sonya invites you to connect with her. During our conversation, please put your comments and questions for Sonya in the chat box, and we're going to get to as many as possible. And we will be happy to stay a little longer than the 30 minutes if that is required. Sonya is an emerging Toastmaster. Again, you will experience that. And she has been to BTUA, so I'm so proud that she is an alumnus of our program. So can we please give a warm virtual welcome to the amazing, extraordinary Sonya Ponds.
Hi, family. How are you guys this evening, this afternoon, wherever you are in the world?
Right.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, as they say.
We have. It's so great to see you, Sonya.
It's good to see you. We have not, like you said, we haven't been together since 2018 in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, you guys don't know I won a scholarship. Thank you, Bonnie, for the opportunity. We were able to collaborate on something called "If I Were a CEO for the Day, what would I do? What would I think about?" And I wanted everyone to know that you have the ability to be a SME, and you were able to put that out in the world. And I know on LinkedIn we were the third ranking article
for Executive Secretary Magazine. Lucy did that article from 2018 was the third highest read article for the magazine in 2020, which is so cool. So you just said the term SME. We talk about that at BTUA. What's a SME?
A subject matter expert. I believe that everyone, and she said that in my bio, anyone can have a resume enhancing experience on your job each and every day if you choose to accept it. Sometimes someone will say, no, not you, but you can say, yes, me. And you will tackle it and you go after it. And so I love the fact that you give us an opportunity in BTUA to go after it. And she stays in contact with us. You guys, I have to tell you, when good things happen in my life, Bonnie is one of the main people that I get on the email and say, this happened to me. And she's one of my biggest cheerleaders. Once she sends your life, she never lets you go. So go to BTUA, earn a new auntie, and blossom. That's
amazing. Well, it was so fun having you at BTUA and you winning the contest. And we've been very connected, as you say, ever since. One of the things I remember from that workshop is that I remember sitting in a U at CNN, and when you would speak, you could hear a pin drop. That everyone paid very close attention, because somehow it happens in a lot of groups where you just come to know, the radar goes off that you better listen to this woman. And so today we get to listen to you. So yay.
Hey, thank you. My ancestors would be so proud to hear you say that. Thank you. I stand on their shoulders. Thank you.
And I'm looking at the chat. We've got Deborah coming in from Belgium. We've got New York in the house, and Maryland, and Connecticut, and Seattle. Yes. So we are delighted you're here. So just as we did last week with Spencer, I'm going to give you some rapid fire questions. Okay. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready. Let's do this.
So favorite singer, Beyonce or Tamia?
Tamia.
Destiny's Child or Escape?
Destiny's Child.
Favorite TV show?
Growing up, it was The Cosby Show. But as an adult, I have to tell you, Doc Martin from the UK. Love it.
Okay. Like, I learned so much from this. I have never heard of Doc Martin. I'm going to check it out.
Have to look at it. It's on PBS.
When you can travel again after the pandemic, where's the first place you're going to go?
Jamaica, man, is the first overseas place I ever got to go. It's home to me. I love it. I love the music. I love the food. Jamaica.
How many times have you been there?
I've been there 5 times.
Ooh, okay. Favorite ice cream?
Rocky Road.
If you were on a desert island and you just had one book to choose from, what would it be?
I'm old now. The Bible. I need some inspiration.
Yeah, we need that these days for sure. What is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie growing up was Some Kind of Wonderful, because it's the first movie my mother ever let me go to by myself. So I love that movie. But I have to say, as an adult, The Encounter is on PureFlix. It's a great movie, just inspiring. So Encounter now, my favorite movie, but as a kid, Some Kind of Wonderful.
Okay. And wait, so how old were you when you went to the movies by yourself? Like literally by yourself, or
by myself? I was 12. That's when you can get in on an adult ticket. And she's like, fine, go. I was like, yay. So I got to go see that movie by myself.
So to this day, as an adult, when movies wake up again, do you go by yourself to the movies?
I do. I do
too. I like going to the movies by myself.
And the combination of M&Ms and popcorn, the best thing you've ever had.
No drink? Wait, no drink?
Why? No drink, no. Because you're going to miss stuff, because you got to go. Just get M&Ms and popcorn and mix them together.
Got it. It's a very personal question. Who's your favorite superhero?
My favorite superhero. I don't really have traditional I'm not a Marvel kind of girl, but I tell you, Eleanor of Aquitaine. I am a fan of medieval history. My degree is in American history, but I love medieval history. And Eleanor of Aquitaine was not only Queen of France, she was Queen of England. And to me, that is some boss moves. And one day I want to be like Eleanor of Aquitaine. Yes.
Okay. I mean, I feel like... Favorite beverage?
Oh, I'm Southern. Lemonade every day, all day.
Lemonade. Okay. So how about sweet tea? No?
My mother made sweet tea, but it is like sugary and it's too much. But I like that little tart lemon, because sometimes I can be a little tart. It's lemonade.
And what's the last thing you binge watched?
There's a show called The Chosen on PureFlix. And, it's religious focused about Jesus. But I have to tell you, it's my repentance for watching Bridgerton a couple of weeks ago. I had to say, Jesus, I'm sorry. But I really like Bridgerton. So let me watch your movie. Okay, last question.
Yes. What is something that doesn't appear on your LinkedIn profile that we should know?
I love autobiographies about medieval monarchs. I think every girl deserves to be a princess and every woman deserves to be a queen. And that just resonated with me as a child. And I love biographies about monarchs, especially medieval monarchs. People that you've never heard of. I love those things. And that's how I grew up learning about Eleanor of Aquitaine and wanting to be her one day.
Yeah. Have you been to Europe and visited like the castles in London, in England, and in Scotland?
I got to go with Girl Scouts. I took a group of Girl Scouts all over Europe, and we had a great time in England, France, and Italy.
So you got to see those
things and just realized, yes, I'm supposed to be in one of these castles. Where is my prince?
Oh, really? I mean, it just struck me as so violent. Oh my gosh. Like,
yeah.
you visit those castles in Scotland. Anyway.
Oh, but the crowns, focus on the crowns.
Everybody was like killing each other. But anyway, we've got a lot of, so now you get to have gotten to know Sonya a little bit better, and me too, and Jen also.
Yeah.
You read the article.
Yes.
We're going to turn this a little much more serious right now. You read the article about shining a light on Black assistants. And you told me before we went on the air that you were not surprised by the article.
No.
And so give us some reaction to this. And the article is about race and about what some of us may not know about the experience of being a Black assistant in the workplace, no matter where you work.
Absolutely. It was very powerful and personal and full of truth. And when something hits you to the gut, you know it's truth. The thing that resonated with me was from pet to threat. I've experienced that in the workplace. But you know what's interesting? It's not always Caucasians that see you as a threat. Sometimes it can be your own race or other people of color. You know, I was like, oh, I'm the shining star. You know, Sonya has some degrees. Sonya can pick up on some things quickly because she grew up in a generation where technology was on the move, and she's quick to pick up on things. And so I get these opportunities. But then when I get in those spaces, I realize I'm 46 years old. My parents born and raised in Alabama, the great state of Alabama. We got some issues, but we're making strides. So I understand the impact of institutional racism and economic oppression. So when I get in those spaces where I can have a voice, I like to be an advocate. And when you are that advocate, sometimes it's like, be quiet, because you're going to open up doors for other people. And this is my spot. And I had to work my way up to this spot. And they just gave you this spot because you have a degree. But I earned this spot, and you're not going to open it up to other people. And it's shocking. It's shocking. You're like, wow, I thought we were all in this together. So it hurt my feelings in the beginning when I started in the professional world, because I just couldn't understand it. But I was a renegade. I've lost jobs being an advocate. But I love John Lewis, good trouble. When you get in good trouble, good things happen. So never, ever be afraid to speak your truth. Never, ever be afraid to stand up for someone or stand up for an opportunity for someone, because it never returns void. I have to tell people that. Hustle while you wait, and what delayed is never denied.
What was that last?
What's delayed is never denied.
Interesting. So can you give us an example of what has been said to you? We were talking about an example before
You know, I have that psychology degree, so I'll let you throw around terms like microaggressions, right? But an example of that, I remember I was an office assistant, and I was like, oh, I'm excited. I have to go off. I have to go take an exam. And this individual was like, oh, so you're working on your GED? I'm like, actually, no, I'm working on a master's degree. He was like, interesting. Well, you need to be careful of those for-profit schools, because, you know, they take advantage of people who don't really know anything. I was like, actually, my school is a nonprofit school, and it's known around the world, but I appreciate a for-profit school if it's accredited by the U.S. Department of Education. And I support that of other people. He was like, yeah, you just got to be careful. I mean, what was the selection process? Do they just let anybody into your school? And I had to stop and say, you know what? My pressure was rising. I'm from the South. I'm from a Southern mama. My pressure was rising, but I had to think and then my accent just came out. I had to think to myself, you know what? This can be a teachable moment that is a hit in the face, or it could be a moment of grace. And I allowed it to be a moment of grace. And that's when I spend my little psychology on him. So I wonder why you said that. Let's talk about that. And he talked about education in his country in China. I was like, oh, okay. That's where that's coming from. Well, let me talk about my experience growing up in the South and coming here to live in the city. And we had a great conversation. And I still keep in contact with that person. And I remember that day you came to my desk and acted a fool? Now look where we are now. And he laughs about it, but he appreciated that. He really, really appreciated that. I went to a church and it said, love people when they least expect it and when they least deserve it. And as African Americans and people of color, I know we have been oppressed, and we want people to hear us. It's important for people to hear us and experience our pain, but they can't hear us when we're yelling at them. Have a conversation. And I like to say, crucial conversations and safe spaces. If we can have crucial conversations and safe spaces and allow people to explore opportunities and explore questions, and know that, you know, I'm not going to slap you on the face if you want to touch my hair. I'll just explain why my hair is different than your hair. we will have awesome dialogue and awesome possibilities.
So interesting. Before we went on, we were talking about another thing that was said to you, because I shared that in the aftermath of this article, I heard from many assistants of all colors, and one Black assistant shared that Black on Black discrimination is a very real thing, and so it's a very painful thing, and that you've been told things like that you sound white.
Yes, as a kid.
And now you're studying Toastmasters. So talk about that a bit. What does that feel like?
I sound white. I'm very articulate. And I'm like, that's interesting. I didn't know Caucasian Americans had like the patent on being articulate, and having just to combat that. And like, again, asking that, where did that come from? Why do you think African Americans cannot be educated? Why do you think if you just have a GED or you just have a high school diploma that you're not educated? My father, a dark-skinned Black man who grew up the grandson of sharecroppers, who had to graduate high school on correspondence school, who wore his class ring with honor as if it was his wedding ring because he valued education. That no one has the hallmark on education. No one. And just having it, like, where is that coming from? But being open now, I'm older now. Let me preface this. I'm older to be able to have those conversations saying, wow.
And coupled with your education, your master's degree in counseling and psychology, I mean, it certainly must come in really handy, because like you just said, we can't build a bridge between us if we're yelling at each other.
Right. And it's okay to be, sometimes it's okay to be angry. And that's why I tell people, I can help you, but I can refer you out. It doesn't mean you're going to be sitting in my chair and we're going to have deep conversations. But if we can get to the surface where we can have that opening where you can go, aha moment. Sonya, I didn't realize what it meant to have a red velvet cake with pecans on it, because pecans are expensive and a lot of African Americans can afford pecans. So when you are given the gift of a cake with pecans on it, that means you really, really care about me. That's interesting. Thank you, Sonya. But by the way, I'm allergic to nuts. Ask me that one day. Having those conversations.
Right.
Like, I appreciate you giving that to me, but just like I want you to be culturally competent, Sonya, I need you to be culturally competent too. Ask me the same questions and we can have dialogue. Dialogue is the only way.
Interesting way to say that, because the pecan thing, the nut allergy, has nothing to do with race, or you just don't like it.
Just don't like it. But I assumed that because in my culture, giving someone what we considered an expensive nut was like giving of my culture. For him, it was like, girl, you're trying to kill me. Stop it. Let's have a conversation. And it just opened up to a beautiful relationship. So I'm excited to, now that I'm older and growing, teaching youngsters, especially we do that in Toastmasters, where leaders are made. Leaders are made when they listen, when they communicate. That is where it is.
Did you like that? I was moved by the quote by Alan Alda that I used in the article, that real listening is the willingness to allow another person to change you.
Yes.
Letting
it just sit with you. Because sometimes it doesn't need a response. Pain is pain. I will never forget when Schindler's List came out, and Steven Spielberg was on Oprah, and he was talking about how kids were being so disrespectful. He said one kid pulled another kid's side. Pain is pain. Sometimes you just have to sit in someone's pain and be there with them and let it touch you. So I love that quote too.
Yeah. And it took me 3 years to build up to watching Schindler's List. It took a lot to do that. What's your favorite book that you would be referring our listeners to, that if they're really looking to become woke, and which this whole process has made me even more woke, and I thought I was woke, but even more so. Is there a book that comes to mind?
There is a book there is a book that comes to mind. It's not a PC word, so I'm going to say the N-word. The title of the book is The N-word, but it is by a fabulous author, and it's escaping me right now. I'm going to find it and put it in the chat.
Wow.
Dick Gregory. I'm sorry. I found
the comic. The comic?
Yes. It's his autobiography. He wrote, I found it in my junior high school library, and I was shocked. Like, how could you have a book like this in my life? Because I was one of those, I'm gonna go home and tell my daddy and we gonna tear down the school kind of girl back in the day. But when I read the book and I talked about it with my father, he's like, Sonya, that's my story. Don't judge a book by its cover. So if you are someone that can get over the title and read the Nword by Dick Gregory and learn about his story,
okay,
you will know the story of African American lifestyle.
At the end of the article that Jen is posting in the chat about shining a light on Black assistants, I have on my website, I posted like 100 resources. And the book that really got me this summer was the book Caste, the Isabel Wilkerson. Did you read that, Sonya?
I did not read about it. I didn't read, but I heard about it. I saw many of her articles, and it's so true. There is a caste system. You are locked in. Sonya, I am forever going to be an African American woman in this world. I can't change it. I can't get away from it. And how I move as an African American. As my brother has a doctorate in education. He's a superintendent in New Jersey, but he still moves as an African American man. And sometimes you just have to have in your back. I have to think differently. I have to move differently because I know how people see me, and I have to defy a stereotype. But at the same time, I have to understand that sometimes I have to swallow it and live with it. And that's hard for an African American, especially an African American assistant, when you want to get to that C-suite and you got to swallow things sometimes before you get to that next level. Wow.
I'm going to ask you just a couple of other quick things. And then Jen, I'm going to ask you to, because I see the chat blowing up, right? So what is it that do you think, when you read the article, was there something that still occurred to you that we need to know about what it's like being a Black assistant, Sonya?
Again, about sitting in that pain, understand there is pain. I know a lot of people like, slavery was forever, get over it. I can't get over that. That is my life. I'm impacted by that. I'm impacted by my parents who grew up in the segregated South and had outdated school books, who weren't allowed to go here and weren't allowed to go there. And my parents, my father was an electrician, my mother was a janitor. I'm impacted by that. Did it shackle me? No, they taught me to pursue education. But my pain is my pain. Hear my pain, just like I'm willing to hear your pain. There are pains in the workplace. Also, understand that I know how to code switch, and that doesn't mean my speech. I think for a lot of people, they think ebonics. Okay, Sonya, you're going to talk like, no. Code switching for me is one day I'm going to be Sonya, a counselor. The next one is I'm going to be Sonya, the project manager. The next time I'm going to be Sonya, the business analyst, Sonya, the certified HR specialist. I can move in different spaces. I can have different expertise in different spaces if you just allow me to. Don't worry about where my background in terms of you're a poor Black girl from Alabama. Look at me on my paper and Google me. And learn how I move in different spaces. Don't worry about my speech. Worry about what's in my head.
Google her. Google
me.
Go on LinkedIn. Connect on LinkedIn because Sonya, and that's the pronunciation. I forgot that you didn't correct me, Sonya. Last of my questions before we move on to the feedback in the chat. What is one way we can promote allyship in the workplace? For everybody listening, what is something actionable that we can do this week? Is there something that comes to mind?
Cultural shadowing. And that's something that I want to bring to my agency as well as in my other social spaces.
Tell us what that is, cultural shadowing.
Let me spend a day with you and see what your life is like. And I'll just use me and you as an example. I've talked about God a lot. I am a Christian. My Lord and Savior is Jewish. Jesus is Jewish. I don't know a whole lot about what it means to be a Jew. But if I can talk to Bonnie, tell me, what are some of the things Jesus would have experienced as a young child growing up in the Middle East? I can not only learn about someone who's important to my life, but I can also learn about you. And we can have a dialogue about what it means to be Jewish. He's like, okay, Sonya, that's interesting. Tell me about your Christian culture. Just being that space, again, having crucial conversations in safe spaces. I love cultural shadowing, and I work at a foreign affairs agency. And I grew up, I worked in the East Asian Pacific Division where we broadcast in 10 different languages. I miss sometimes those opportunities where I can just sit and talk to my friend in Khmer service and like, tell me about Cambodia. If we can just one day, instead of job shadowing is great. I'm always about upper mobility, fight for your upper mobility, but also fight for your cultural upper mobility.
I love that term, cultural shadowing. Honestly, it's a new one on me. Is it something that's out there and I just missed it? Is that a term that's being used, cultural shadowing?
It's not a term that's being used that I know of, but just
so you coined it.
Hey, you can have it because you
Okay.
got the star power.
Jen.
But just intentional connection when it comes to being
love it.
Zone in on someone's culture.
You can come sit by me any day. For sure.
Yes.
And I want to do the same. So we're going to stay longer. Sonya said that she is able to hang in there another 5-10 minutes extra. Jen, let's take some questions. Let Sonya answer some questions.
Okay, so scrolling. Sorry, we're getting there. There's a lot to read. Lots of happy comments. And okay. Marion has a question. And it's kind of a statement, but if you want to touch on it, what is the obsession about people wanting to touch African American women's hair? I never knew about it until I joined, an African American team in our office last year, and I can't understand it.
That is a good question. I just thought about it because, I dyed my hair not too long ago. African American women, because, and this is a great way to describe it. If someone comes up to you and say, can I touch your hair? Of course, get out of my personal space, right? It's a great opportunity to say, you know what? The reason why our hairs are different is because they grow out of the root differently. Your hair, a typical Caucasian person, your hair grows out of the root straight. Mine grows curly. Your hair doesn't produce enough oil. Your hair produces too much oil. My hair produces a lot of oil. When you perm your hair, you're curling it. When I relax it, I'm relaxing my curls. So when I am natural, I don't always want to put heat on my hair. I don't always want to curl my hair. So I'll wear a weave. I'm sewing in hair into my head, or I'll braid my hair, other hair into my head, because I want to relax. I want to not manipulate my hair to the point where it breaks off. That's why we have all those different hairstyles, but everybody has a different hairstyle. My grandma had a wig. I'm sure somebody else's grandma had a wig. It's just about being flair. What do you want to look
think
like?
Part of it is that if we're wanting to touch your hair, it could be because it looks different than ours.
Yes. And again, that's the time when you have this space like, okay, I get it. You want to learn, but you're not going to learn by touching my hair. Let me just educate you on hair.
Yeah. Well, in the article, Aisha shared that there have been assistants who were let go because of their hair. That appearance seems to be on, under a microscope. Have you felt that in your career, Sonya?
I have. I went natural about 5 years ago. And when I did, it was like, why would you do that? You look so much prettier when you had that long hair. And I'm going to tell you, you know what? I paid $400 on that hair. That was a weave. That was not my hair. You fell in love with someone that wasn't me. This is me.
Wait, Jen, why are you raising your hand?
Sonya.
This is not me.
Exactly.
Sonya, we are very closely related.
This is not me. This is my hair.
This is not me naturally.
And technically, this really isn't me because my hair is all way kind of gray, right? So when you judge me on that long hair, that wasn't me. I paid $400 on that hair, and I vow I will never pay $400 again on a piece of hair on my head.
I think this is a female thing, honestly. I think a lot of females have a thing about their hair, and we all have also a thing about our appearance. That Aisha made the comment about, that people comment the way you look, about how do you dress up, do you not? It's not only your hair, but it's makeup and jewelry and shoes. And have you had comments about that over the years?
I have had comments. I only dress up on special, like I can wear a dress and I can wear some high heels, but it's very, very rare. But when I do, it's like, oh my God, you should do that more often. Yeah. That's not Sonya. Sonya is some slacks and a sweater. And if you can't take slacks in the sweater, Sonya, you can't take her at all. Do not judge me by if I'm wearing a bodycon dress. I'm taken. Don't worry about that. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm like, I'm here for me, and I'm here to share my life with you, not my style. My style is just an expression of who I am. Yeah. It's not the core of me. Let's talk about the core of me instead.
Yeah. So speaking of the core of you, you're in Washington, D.C., right? That's your, or no?
Home base is Washington, D.C., but now that we're teleworking during the pandemic, I'm at home in Silver Spring, Maryland. I heard someone was in the chat from Maryland. Hey, Maryland. Yay!
Right. Okay, so you're in Maryland. When you go out in the world, I want to ask you one of the questions that I asked in the article to Spencer. When you move out in the world around, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most, what is your safety level? 10 would be feeling very unsafe, 1 would be feeling completely safe?
I'm going to be honest with you guys and transparent. In this climate right now, probably not. If safety was a 10, I'm feeling about a 6 or 5. We have ripped off Band-Aids on old wounds that we need to heal. And what has happened in our country as we are moving forward, I talk about possibilities, but I also talk about we're going to have a deep, deep conversation with one another. And as an African American, I don't necessarily always feel safe. You always have to be situationally aware. And that's difficult because my parents never expected that to happen in my lifetime. Yeah. I'm sure Martin Luther King never expected to happen in his lifetime, but we have to be mindful. Too many things have been unearthed. And we have to deal with that. And I have to be aware. And I am more hypersensitive. Before I saw a Confederate flag. I'm from Alabama. Child, please. That's not even Confederate flag. That's Confederate battle flag. But now for me, it's like, why you got a Confederate battle flag? What's up with that?
Are you feeling optimistic about this next year, 2 years, as we look into the workplace?
In the workplace, I am optimistic because I believe policy is on our side. When my parents were growing up, there wasn't a whole lot of policy that would fight for them. But I know that I can say, hey, that is incorrect. And you were going to respect me. And if you can't respect me, I know I can go to this place and get that assistance. And in the federal space, we're trained every year on those policies and procedures. So I think people are more aware that cultural bias can exist.
Yep.
And that they can address it. And in the workplace, yes, I feel like I can grow, but there's still more conversations to have because institutional racism exists. And there are still some people there that need education, and I'm willing to educate them either the easy way or the hard way.
Yeah. Are you having these conversations on a regular basis? Like the one we're having today, is it more unusual, or this year have you been having them more? I didn't ask you this before, but
we're having more of those conversations. My significant other is from Sierra Leone. So his perspective of what it means to be African American and what it means to be African in the US is very, very different. And some of the things, like, you know what, that was for television. Let me tell you about real life. And when you go outside this house, be mindful. I'm always telling him, you be respectful, be kind, watch yourself when you're outside. He's like, what are you talking about, girl? No, we need to be safe, and you need to act accordingly, whether it's in the workspace or whether it's outside. Always be situationally aware. And for African Americans, take a deep breath. Opportunity is coming, but know that our ancestors had to go through a fight. Our parents had to go through a fight, and you're going to have to go through a fight. But they did that with partnering with other people. Yeah. If you look at the civil rights movement, you saw a partnership of other people, and we have got to do the same.
Right.
We can't be siloed.
Because we didn't prep on all of these questions, but it occurred to me after reading a book like Caste that, when women got the right to vote, it wasn't only because women were saying, we want to vote. It took men, it took a lot of people saying, yes, we feel like it's right. But it took a fight. It took a lot of debate and talking, and unfortunately some violence as well. But women got the right to vote. when the slaves were freed in 1865, and there's a lot of, information about that out there, it wasn't only because the slaves were saying, we want to be free. It took a lot of people. It took a lot of allies. And as you say, it took a fight. So I feel like if we're going to move on this, it's going to take all of us. That's really would you agree with that?
Right. Like you do. And we have to prep the ground, and nothing happens without preparation. And we can look in the past to see what was there, but we have to toil our own soil, and we have to toil it together because we need different ingredients. I don't want a salad with just lettuce. Yeah. I want a salad with a whole lot of stuff, but I'm going to need your partnership to get this and get that. And if we just bring our experiences together and say, you know what, I got this, you got this. Okay, we can do this. Let's do this together. We can change this world. We can change the perspective. We just have to be open. I agree with
you. I like to think that heads together is like one small piece of that.
Absolutely.
It's a way of bridging the communication gap. People now know, if they're going to get together with you, get the Rocky Road ice cream ready.
Hello.
Go to a movie.
Do it. That Chick-fil-A Arnold Palmer lemonade. Get it together.
Jen, do we have any other burning comments, questions that Sonya should answer before we?
So we have one question that just came in. So how do you identify healthy and safe partners in this cultural progression, especially professionally?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Identify as healthy and safe partners. I always believe that you trust your gut. If you know that someone is inauthentic, believe that in your heart, that I got to watch you with my side eye, but never stop a conversation, because you never know, in the midst of that crazy, there is a bean of hope waiting to sprout open.
Yes.
To new opportunity. So always be situationally aware. Always side people when they come to you asking crazy questions, like, what is that about? But let me ask, why are you asking that question? One of the beautiful coaching questions is why. Don't why people to death, but just like, why? Why would that person ask me about my hair and why my hair is always different?
Right. What is underneath that? So, well, Sonya, this time has flown with you, and you are just such a wealth of information and such an open heart and willingness to share solid information about some tough subjects.
Yeah.
And
conversation, you guys. That's the only way we're going to get through it, is conversation. I'd rather talk to you than fight you.
What a perfect way to end. So to everyone who took the time to be with us today, you can connect with Sonya on LinkedIn. You can check out the article that I'm referring to. Jen, thank you so much, Jen, for putting these links into the chat. We're going to continue next week with another terrific, amazing, extraordinary executive assistant, Lucretia Adamski. And she will be joining us as our guest next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope all of you will join us. Sonya, any last words before we depart today?
You guys, just be hopeful. There are endless possibilities out there just waiting for you to latch onto them. But you got to just take that leap of faith to latch onto them. It can get better. It will get better. But you have to believe it. It won't happen unless you believe it.
Right. We can all be part of the solution. It's not just a happy little phrase. I think we see that it's true. We've seen B2Ers doing extraordinary things. Please, if you're interested in our programs, we still have seats available for B2A virtual on March 4th and 5th. BeTheUltimateAssistant.com. We have made a coupon code. Jen, what is the coupon code, please, ma'am?
The coupon code is B2A bonus 21.
And save 10% off our programs. Sonya, I hope you'll be with us again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's like go home week.
Yeah, I know. It feels great to have you with us again. And it doesn't feel like so much time has gone by. All right. So thank you, Jen Wilner. Thank you so much for being by my side as always, thankfully. And be safe out there. Wear your masks. We know that if we can stay healthy, we can solve any problem that comes along. We do have issues to solve with this. And so I've learned so much today during our conversation with Sonya Ponds, coming to us from Silver Spring, Maryland.
Yes.
Silver
And,
Spring,
and you were nice. Wash your hands and wear your mask, people. Let's do this.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do this.
Listen to her.
Thank you,
All
guys.
right. Thanks, everyone, so much for being
Have a good
here.
one.
Okay.